Today, we are going to discuss the concept of research for UGC NET examination. This class is beneficial for UGC NET Paper 2 education and as well as the research methodology section of Paper 1. Before going to start the class, I want to give you a story. Here you can see there are two teachers, Mr. Amit and Miss Priya, both dealing with a frustrating problem. Their students are suddenly scoring trebly on their weekly math test. So both the teachers are frustrating, and Mr. Amit shakes his head, walks into the staff room and declares, "These kids are just lazy. They are not studying." He changed nothing and hope for the best. While Mr. Amit shake his head, Miss Priya take a different route. Instead of jumping to conclusion, she systematically checks all the variables and analyze the sleep pattern of her student also. Here, the two teachers take different routes. While Mr. Amit made an assumption, Miss Priya is conducted research. Friend, with this story, I am going to relate with you with today's class. So today we are going to discuss about research. Research is a way to looking at the solution in a different manner to find out the solution of a problem. Let's discuss what is research. Before we are going to break down the steps of research. Let's discuss what is research. As I give you the example, you can understand it simply. And if we talk about the derivative meaning of the term research, it is the combination of two words, re and search. Re means again and again, and search means find out something new. It is a process of systematic inquiry to collect, analyze, and interpret data to solve a problem or build an entirely new theory. For example, if students score poorly, saying they are lazy is not research. Systematically checking variables is research. Likewise, I already give you the examples of a classroom situation of a as a story. Okay, these are some characteristics of research. One is empirical, which must be research must be strictly based on a real world evidence and direct data collection rather than personal opinion or assumptions. For example, collecting test score to prove a struggle. This is one characteristics of research. Research should be empirical. It does not based on any personal opinion, personal assumptions. Okay, so it must have some evidence, proper evidence. Then research should be systematic. It follows a rigid step-by-step procedure. A researcher cannot bypass critical phases or jump to conclusion directly. This should follow a methodology, a step-by-step process. For that, we call research is a systematic process. This is the another characteristics of research. And the research should be cyclical. Research operates as a continuous cycle. Solution inevitably raise new questions, starting the process again and again and again. Research is not a ending process. Research is a continuous process. Research is a cyclical process. Discovery fuels further discovery. Okay, these are three major characteristics of research. There are some more characteristics of research. Objective. Research must have some clear objective. It must be entirely free from research bias. You must present the data exactly as it is, even if it implicitly contradicts your personal hypothesis. So you have to be objective without biasness. Research without biasness is objective, and your research objectivity and objective, these are both are different things. Objective means your research objective, and objectivity means your research should not based on bias. Research should be logical. All conclusions must be guided strictly by the established rules of logical reasoning, specifically induction and deduction. So while studying the research characteristics, the types of research, you all understand that what is induction and what is deduction. Induction and deduction, which we also call inductive reasoning or deductive reasoning, inductive method or deductive method, we will discuss in later in detail also. Then the another characteristics of research is replicable. If another qualified researcher follows your exact step, methodology and conditions, they should achieve a remarkably similar result. The research should be similar result. Suppose I am conducting a research and I have followed some steps. If you conduct the same research following the same method, and you must be get the result of X or similar to X. There should be little bit difference, but more or less similar, which is the characteristic of replicable or replicability. The four main objectives. Why do we conduct research? Let's understand these 5 primary goals of research. Research, the first objective is to explore. Research should be exploratory. The primary goal is to gain initial broad insight into the entirely new area. The question answered should be, what is this? When our objective is exploring something, the question should be, what is this? For example, investigating why students are beginning to use AI. Here we are going to explore. Okay. The second one is descriptive, describing any situation, any phenomena as it is. The question should be asked like, how is it happening? For example, measuring how many students use AI in present situation, in current scenario. Okay, this is called descriptive. When the research objective is to explain something which is explanatory, we ask the question, why? Why is it happening? For example, determining if AI use causes decrease in critical thinking, then why we use AI? Okay. Then another objective is predictive. When we are trying to predict the near future, then also we conduct research. Then we ask the questions like, what will happen in next 2 to 5 years. Predicting the unchecked, for example, predicting the unchecked AI will drop exam score by 10%. To use current findings to estimate future outcomes. When our objective is to predict through research, okay, we generally use the current findings to estimate the future outcomes. Is it clear to everyone? Let's move ahead. Let's discuss about educational research. What is educational research? Educational research is a direct application of scientific method to study of educational problems. It is seek to systematically understand, describe, predict, or control educational phenomena. Whenever we are conducting any kind of research in the field of education, it is educational research. There are some key attributes like we discussed earlier. All the characteristics of research are the characteristics of educational research also. Here the place is varied. The research is broad. Every area there is the concept research is in every subject. But we are in subject specific like educational research. So in our point of view, the research conducted in the field of education are called educational research. Scopes. What are the scopes? What are the area of studying the educational research? There are many areas of educations like educational studies, philosophy, foundation of education. For example, I am conducting a study on the implication of basic education. What are the implications, educational implication of basic education? Okay. For example, I am conducting a research to find out the educational implication of Sankhya and Yoga philosophy. Are they beneficial today also or not? Okay. All the subjects of education like philosophical foundation of education, psychological foundation of education, sociological foundation of education, curriculum development, teaching, learning, educational administration, educational psychologies. There are many more things. Educational technology, inclusive education, these all are the areas or scopes of educational research. Then there are three main type of research based on the outcomes. First one is basic research, in which we focused entirely on pure knowledge creation or creating a new theory or building a new theory. In pure research or basic research, generally we develop a theory. Then applied research. In applied research, we are trying to solving a specific problem based on the pure research or basic research or any theory. Here we applied the theoretical knowledge in the practical field. And then the action research. It is designed for immediate problem solving with a local classroom. For example, I am in the classroom teaching the students and students are diverted. Students are not attending my class properly. So in that situation, I am doing some activities, or I may apply some principle of educational psychology or child psychology, you can say, to control my students, to make them more attentive in my class. So here I use some techniques. Okay, this kind of things can be used in action research, which focused on the immediate problem solving in a classroom. Then the scientific method. What is the scientific method? Scientific method has some following steps. Problem identification, the first step. Scientific means following a systematic steps. It should be systematic. First, problem identification, defining the specific issue. This is the first step of scientific method. Then after identification of problem, then we make a review of related literature. Then we study what are the studies already done in this area. Then after studying the reviews, then in the third step we formulate hypothesis, the tentative solution, or we making the prediction. What should be the solution of this problem? Then we make the research design, the strategic blueprint for our research. Then we collect the data. That may be through questionnaire, that may be through scale, that may be through focus group discussion, that may be through interview or anything else. Then after collecting the data, then we analyze it using various statistics, using various software, maybe like SPSS, Jamovi, R, Python, etc. etc. Then after analyzing the result, then we reach to the conclusion. Is the hypothesis supported or not? These 7 steps are the steps of a scientific method. First problem, then hypothesis, design, then result. Okay. Scientific method, it should be replicable. I think you all understand this concept earlier. The standard consistency. The method, the process should be consistent. Precision, accuracy, or exactness in any kind of research. We must have exactness, accuracy level. Okay. Then falsifiability, the Karl-Popper rule, the crucial capacity for a theory or hypothesis to be rigorously tested and potentially proven wrong. Science does not definitively prove truth. It tries to disprove. Untestable statements are not science. Okay. Then parsimony. Occam's razor, parsimony, the philosophical principle of choosing the simplest, most direct explanation that successfully fit the facts. Key insights: when two distinct theories explain the data equally well, always choose the simpler one. So, to using a simple method to conduct a research is parsimony. Then inductive reasoning or deductive reasoning, it is very simple. When we start from an observation, then follow a pattern, then frame a hypothesis, then develop a theory. That is called the inductive reasoning or inductive method, which is also known as bottom-up approach. And in deductive approach, we downs from the top, like from theory to hypothesis generation, then observation, then confirmation. Okay. Then positivism or interpretism. Science is objective. Positivism says science is objective. It follows the quantitative approach. Positivism. Okay, focus on objectivity. But the interpretism is subjective in nature. That's why it is qualitative. It focuses qualitative method. It uses interviews, case study, descriptive narratives. But positivism is quantitative. It collects numerical data, rigid experimental designs to uncover absolute truths. Okay, quantitative and qualitative. Then validity and reliability. Validity means when we measure what we intend to measure, then the question is valid. Measuring the right things. Does the chosen tool accurately measure what it is explicitly supposed to measure? For example, an intelligence test should measure cognitive capacity, not someone's mathematical background. it is validity. Then reliability is consistency. Does the instrument elide the exact same stable result every single time it is used? For example, if you weigh yourself 3 times in 1 minute, the scale must show the same number. If it varies, then the scale is not reliable. The golden rule. These are the steps of research. First, problem identification. Second, review. Third, hypothesis formation. Then design, data collection and analysis. And then conclusion. Okay. Let's practice some previous year questions. Question number 1. Meaning and characteristics of research relating to the characteristics of research. Research is a process of what? Option A, systematic inquiry. Option B, intuitive guessing. Option C, blind trial. Option D, copying content. What should be the answer? Option A, research is defined as a systematic, structured process of inquiry to produce new knowledge. Okay. Then, which of the following is not a characteristics of scientific research? Option A, objectivity. Option B, subjectivity. Option C, verifiability. Option D, precision. Which one is right? Tell me. Answer B, subjectivity is right. Okay. Next, replicability in research means what? Few times before we discuss what is replicability. Okay. Option A, repeating the process for fun. The ability of a study to get the same result when repeated. Option C, copying the content of other researcher. Option D, changing the data to suit your need. The right answer should be option B, the ability of a study to get the same result when repeated. Okay, few times before I had tell you, if you are I am conducting a research and following a method and get the result X. And if you conduct the same study and follow the same method, you must have the result of X or similar to X. Here the option B is correct. Okay. Then the fundamental goal of research is to option A, describe phenomena. B, explain relationship. C, predict future outcomes. D, all of the above. The answer is D, all of the above. The fundamental goal of research is to describe phenomena, explain relationships, predict future outcomes, and these all. Okay. Then educational research is typically option A, descriptive, empirical, systematic, which we discussed few times ago, or all of the above, which is correct. Option D, all of the above. It should be exploratory in nature, it should be empirical, it should be systematic, it should be descriptive, it should be quantitative, it should be quantitative. Okay. Next, question number 6. The term parsimony in research is refers to option A, complexity in theory. Option B, simplicity in explanation. Option C, accuracy in data. Option D, reliability of tools. The correct answer is option B, parsimony. This suggests that simplest explanation that covers all facts is the best. Simplicity. Use the simple method. If there are two methods and both give the same result, then use the simplest one. Okay. Then question number 7. Scientific method relies heavily on what? Option A, empirical facts. Option B, personal values. Option C, individual feelings. Option D, expert authority. The correct answer is empirical facts. Science relies on observable, verifiable facts or evidence rather than opinion or status. That's why the option A is the correct answer. Which is the most essential quality of a researcher? Curiosity, high IQ, financial resources, ability to speak well. The correct answer is option A, curiosity. A true philosopher is he who is curious to learn and never satisfied. And a researcher is nothing but a philosopher. Okay, so curiosity is the main essential quality. Then question 9, falsifiability in science was popularized by Karl Popper, John Dewey, Plato, Aristotle. Option A is the correct answer, Karl Popper. Research which is done primarily for the sake of knowledge is called dash. Option A, basic research. Option B, applied research. Option C, action research. Option D, evaluative research. Here the answer is basic research. Okay, for the sake of knowledge or building a theory, creating new knowledge, this is basic research, or we also call it pure research. Then question number 11, educational research aims at solving classroom problems. Option B, building educational theories. Option C, both A and B. Option D, none of the above. The educational research aims at both A and B, solving classroom problems and building educational theory also. Okay. Then empirical means based on option A, pure logic and reasoning. Option B, direct experience or observation. Option C, existing theoretical models. And option D, researchers' personal opinion. Which is the correct answer? Option B is the correct answer. That is direct experience or observation. Okay. Then next question, which is a characteristics of a scientific approach? Option A, it is unbiased. Option B, it is tentative. Option C, it is systematic, or all of the above. Tell me which is the correct answer. Give your response in the comment box, please. Here the option D is the correct answer. All the options are the characteristics of a scientific approach. Then operational definition is required for precision and measurement, generalizing to the population, randomization, or guessing outcomes. The correct answer is precision and measurement. To be precise, you must define abstract terms like intelligence by how you measure them. Okay, you have to operationalizing your variables. Then research is dash, a linear one-way process, a cyclical process, a random activity, a static process. The correct answer is research is a cyclical process. Then we discuss some questions based on the scientific method or steps. What is the first step in the scientific method? Formulating a hypothesis, reviewing literature, identification of the research problem, or data analysis. So option C is the correct answer. That is identification of the research problem. Everything starts with a clearly defining problem. Without problem, we cannot go ahead in research. the formulation of a hypothesis, designing the research, analyzing data, reaching a conclusion, collecting data. The correct answer is designing the research. Okay. Once you have a prediction, you must plan how to test it, which is research design. Okay. Next, data collection is preceded by option A, hypothesis formulation, option B, statistical analysis, option C, writing the final report, option D, choosing the sample and design. The right answer is choosing the sample and design. You must have your design and sampling plan ready before actually collected the data in the field. What is the correct sequence of research? Option A, option B, option C, option D. Which of the following is correct step? Option A is a correct answer. Why? It follows the steps. This is the standard linear progression of the research process. First, we have to formulate the research problem, identification of research problem, then literature review, then hypothesis formulation, then design of the study, then data collection, then analysis, and finally drafting the report. Then a research hypothesis must be testable, logical, specific, or all of the above. The answer is all of them. A research hypothesis must be testable, logical, and specific. Okay. So I have some more questions also. We will discuss them all in the upcoming classes. So for today's class, it's all about the research, the concept of research,